Hey, what up everyone, this is MandoAllDay, back with another video. In today's video, I'll be doing a build guide for Wolverine. I'll be going over the artifacts to use, medallion insignia, as well as go over the powers, talents, and traits, the hero synergies, at the very end, show you my rotation, and give you some tips and pointers as far as how I was able to pass Cosmic Trial without using any infinity points. So again, this is my build guide for Wolverine, so let's get right into it. So the first thing we look at is Advanced Circlet of Sidorak. I'm using this for the brutal strike rating, physical damage rating, and +2 durability, and also 2 gain, 14 fury, which is spirit, and health when you pick up any orb, and also 9% chance that when you are attacked to create a shield that absorbs 15,000 damage done to you. So overall, this is a really good artifact for Wolverine because it grants you brutal strike rating, physical damage rating, and +2 durability. And that's good because his main attributes are durability and fighting. So having that extra +2 durability is really beneficial. Next is Book of Demonicas. I'm using this for the +3 to all attributes, which is really good. But also too, this also grants you, when you hit with a basic power, gain 30 damage rating for 3 seconds. This effect stacked up to 25 times, which is really good because what this does is when you hit with a bleeding power, and I'll show you guys when I go over my rotation, that automatically it continues stacking or increases the damage rating, because one of my powers that I use is a basic and it causes bleeding. And so when you hit an enemy and when you hit bleeding and the enemy's bleeding, per hit you gain stack. So literally it's like automatic, you're increasing your damage rating. So this is a really good artifact for him. Next is Red Skull. I'm using this for the brutal damage rating. When you brutally strike, gain +1 durability, +1 strength, and +1 fighting for 5 seconds, which is good. And you take 2% less damage from normal elites. Overall, this is a really good artifact for him, because obviously for the brutal damage rating, because one of his powers does do 100% brutal strike chance, so having the brutal damage increase is really good. Next is Sabretooth's Fury Main. When you use the bleeding power, gain critical damage rating, which is good because I do use bleeding, and also to this it grants me health regeneration, damage rating, and defense rating. So overall, this is a really good artifact for him, and I highly recommend it. Next is Mayhem Demon Blood. I'm using this for the health increase, physical damage rating increase, and when you gain 10 stacks, you gain +2 fighting, +2 speed. So overall, this is a decent artifact. Next is Forge 800 Defense, and I have a Blessed of the Power Dupe. I don't want to read it because it's kind of a lot, but mainly using it for the extra brutal damage. And then for legendary, I'm using is Excalibur. I'm using this for the damage to melee powers, defense rating, critical hit rating, and generate 200 health when you hit. So this is really good because you want the health regeneration. And with him, he's very, of course he's melee, but he's a single target base, so you're always going to be up close with enemies. So having that health regeneration per hit is really good. Next is Sling Ring of Commentaries. I'm using this for the critical hit rating, attack speed, the damage rating to melee powers, and health increase. So overall, this is a pretty good ring. And for slots 1 through 5, I use all his items. Slots 1, 3, and 4 are cosmic, and 2 and 5 are his uniques. So there you go. Costume I'm using is X-Men uniform costume, which I think is okay. I really chose this because it looks kind of funky and weird, and it's okay. For the catalyst, I have it to where I increase my spirit, defense rating increase, physical damage rating increase, mental damage rating increase, which is irrelevant, +2 fighting, which is good. Gain damage shield equal to 50% of your maximum health, which is okay. Crafted affixes, critical damage rating, mutation bonus, after being crowd control, gain 2000 maximum health for 5 seconds, which is not too bad. And this also grants you 1000 defense, which is really very good because he is a melee, and having the defense increase is really good. And visual is when you brutally strike, display Midtown Silver Spotlight, which it looks something like. Hopefully it works. Well, hopefully it'll show up right now. But anyways, for insignia, I'm using Insignia of Blade. When you hit with any power, you and your allies gain 272 damage rating versus bleeding targets for 8 seconds. While this effect is active, your physical hits restore health. This is pretty good because it grants you you regenerate health, but also two, you increase your damage rating to bleeding targets, which again is very good because he's always going to be causing bleeding. But I'm using this insignia for the critical damage rating increase and damage rating to melee powers. So this is a really good insignia for him. Weapon Expert, it's the claws, which I think is awesome. And for pet, I have it to where I take 1% less damage from bosses, plus 30 spirit, and plus 3 durability. And then team up is Deadpool Kid. Alright, the powers I use, top to bottom, left to right. Bloody Claws, Furious Lunge, Savage Slash, Fear Roar, Wet Work, Impale, Furious Assault, Signature of course, Run Through. Here, Infinity Points, as mentioned before, none were used. And for Hero Synergies, I'm using Cable for the critical hit multiplier increase, Electro for the physical damage rating increase and damage to bosses, Hawkeye for the move speed and critical damage rating increase, Nightcrawler for, Moon Knight for the critical hit rating multiplier to physical powers, Nightcrawler to melee damage increase, Squirrel Girl for the damage to bosses increase, War Machine for the spirit increase and +1 fighting, and then Wolverine for brutal strike, brutal damage rating, and then of course X-23 for the damage rating increase to bleeding targets. I think I missed one. Let me check. Yeah, Emma Frost. Sorry about that. Emma Frost for the +3 damage over time powers and +1 durability. Now for the talents and traits, for the first row, I use is Hardened Outlook. What this does is this talent grants you, with Swift Claws transform to Bloody Claws, which is my main spender. And it has a passive effect, bleeding power damage increases to 20%. When you hit a bleeding enemy, generate or restore spirit. So basically what this talent is, it changes Swift Claws to Bloody Claws, and then that power becomes it's a bleeding, which is very beneficial, especially with, and again, when I go over my rotation, I'll go over why I'm using this, but this is really good because it causes bleeding, and it's really, really, really good. And also, too, with this talent, you get a passive, which it increases your bleeding power damage by 20%. So if you have other bleeding powers that you decide to use, this is really good. Second row is Punishing Strike. Impale gets the following effects. Brutal Strike damage increased by 50%, and the cost reduction is 50%. So what this does is, Impale, which is this power right here, the brutal strike damage is increased by 50%. So now it has brutal strike damage of 50%, and that's good because this particular power, Impale, does brutal strike chance 100%. So having a brutal strike damage plus 50% is really, really, really good. Next is Let's Make This Quick. For the third row, it's a passive which increases your total damage by 15%, but total damage received is increased by 10%. So you win some, you lose some according to this talent. So you win some by increasing your total damage, but you lose some because you receive extra 10% damage. So keep that in mind. Fourth talent is Exploit Weakness. Run Through implies vulnerability, increasing damage taken by Fury, spending powers by 20% for 6 seconds. If you defeat an enemy with this vulnerability, reset the cooldown and Run Through. So essentially what this does is when you use Run Through, which is this power right here, you apply vulnerability, which increases the damage, and if you kill the enemy, then automatically you reset Run Through. So it's pretty good. And last but not least is Savage Instincts. What work automatically triggers when you hit a boss or mini boss and lasts for 10 seconds. So Wet Work is this power right here, and it's a buff. And I know you might be thinking, okay, so why am I using Wet Work, have it in my hotbar, but yet I have it here automatically, and I'll explain why. And well, this is a good transition, and let me explain why. So I'll review some of the powers really quick here. You can see why I chose these powers, and I'll show you my rotation. Rotation is really simple. So the first power is Bloody Claws. I'm using this for the decent amount of damage, but as I said before, it does cause bleeding, and duration is 12 seconds. That's important to know because, and I mentioned that Book of Demonicas is really good, and I think this is probably the best in the slot for this character for him, because what this does is when you hit with the basic power, you gain 30 damage rating for 3 seconds, and it stacks up 25 times. Okay, and in combination with this artifact and this power, which is Bloody Claws, which causes bleeding, you literally have to activate it once and it automatically stacks. I'll show you what it looks like, because Bloody Claws is the basic. So again, I'm gonna hit this enemy, and you're gonna see that I'm not gonna hit. I'm just gonna attack it once, and my damage rating is gonna increase due to the the proc from this artifacts. So here we go. So there we go. 2600, 2700. I can do it again if I want, and it just continues at 3100. There you go. See that? And it's still going, because the duration of the bleeding is 12 seconds, and it's still going like 3200. That's pretty good. So hence why I chose this artifact, hence why I chose this power, because of that. Next one is Savage Slash. I'm using this because it does pretty good damage, but also too, the total damage is increased by 3% of your maximum fury, meaning that the more fury you have, the more this power does damage. Hence why I chose this. So keep that in mind. The next one is Run Through. Pretty simple. Just activate it whenever you can. It's a really strong power. It does a lot of damage. So same thing with Impel. But with Impel, the good thing about this is the damage bonus is increased by 1% per Fury spent. So Fury costs 50%. So this is really good. So the more Fury you have, the more damage this power does, because it's spent. So if you have 1,000, right now I have 682. So according to this, 1%. Hey, I don't want to do the math, but you can do the math. But the Fury cost for this is 50%. So I will just activate it right now, and it's going to reduce half of it. See? So the more Fury you have, the more this power does damage. Okay? And 2, Impel does Brutal Strike chance blind at 100%. And that's good to know, because, as I stated, this medallion here does brutal damage rating increase, and as well as, I think this one right, I think is one of them. I can't remember, but anyways, yeah, this talent. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong section. This talent, right, this one right here, it increases the brutal strike damage by 50%. So again, this is really good, because this power does brutal strike chance, meaning when you activate this power, it's going to brutally strike. So having items that increase your brutal damage rating overall is really, really good. And also to increasing your spirit. So with that said, having your increasing your fury or your spirit, however you want to call it, not only does it benefit Impel, but also benefits Savage Slash. Okay, so these next 2 powers here, these are all buffs or Fury Roll. What this does is it fully restored. Fury is restored 50% of a max Fury, so it restores 50% of your Fury or Spirit. It causes Weaken. Enemies deal 10% less damage for 12 seconds, and they're terrified for 2 seconds. So mainly I use this just to regenerate my Fury. That way when I activate, well, I'm kind of going ahead of my rotation, but I use it just to restore my Fury. And the next is Wet Work. What this is a buff. So when you activate this, your attack and move speed increase by 20%, critical hit chance by 20%, damage resistance by 20%, and the duration is 10 seconds. Now, again, I'm kind of going ahead a little bit in my rotation, but you might be asking, okay, Mondo, so you have this talent right here, Savage Instinct, which automatically activates this power or buff when you hit with the boss or mini boss, why you have it here in your hotbar? It's because sometimes, and I know it could be a glitch, or it could just be me, but there's times where I'm, fighting a boss and it doesn't activate automatically. And 2, by having here in my hotbar, I can manually activate it. So if I'm fighting, like for instance, those Hulkbusters, and they're not considered, I don't know if they're considered mini boss or not, but if they're not considered mini boss, then I can activate it manually and so do the what it does here. So that's why I have it on here, so I can activate it manually whenever I want. And then signature, I'll go over that in a bit, but Fierce Lunge, typical, whatever. So Fierce Assault signature is really good, does a lot of damage, and you get 3 times to use it. But here we go, and this is the kind of my rotation, but I'm explaining to you why I have chose these powers. So Furious Assault, the way it works is this: you have 3, you can activate this, and you have max charges of 3. Okay, but I'll read this to you guys. Your next Impel, Run Through, or Tornado Claw deals 35% more damage and gains a 35% critical hit chance. Stacks up to 3 times. Okay. 2, at 3 stacks, your next Impel, Run Through, or Tornado Claw will brutally strike. So what this means is you can activate the signature once, and your next Impel Run Through Tornado Claw deals 35% more damage and gains 35% chance to critically hit. And then on the third charge, that power and either Impel Run Through or Tornado Claw will brutally strike. Okay, and so I explain it because that way you guys know why I chose these powers. Because right here, all you have to do, and I'm kind of leading into my rotation, is activate signature and increases the damage to those 3 powers. Impel Run Through Tornado by 35% and has a 35% critical hit chance. Activate it again and it stacks. And on the third charge, whatever power I use, Impel Run Through or Tornado Claw, it's going to brutally strike. So now I'll get into the rotation. It's really, really simple. It's very similar to Captain America, where you have to kind of watch out and time it right. But once you try it and play it, it's not that bad. So first thing I do is use Bloody Claws. That way I could get that bleeding and increase my damage per this artifact. So just Bloody Claws a couple of times if you want to regenerate. It's my main spender. Honestly, I use it just to do damage over time and regenerate my spirit, and also that way my damage rating is increased. So that's the first thing I do. Second thing I do is activate Wet Work, so that way I get that buff, and then from there activate Signature once, and then do Run Through. Signature, and then Impel, and then do Bloody Claws. So something like this. And Bloody Claws, and then Savage Slash. See that? And I'll do it again. So I'll do one more time. So it's Bloody Claws to get that damage one more time / bleeding, and then from there activate buff if it's possible. If right now, if not, no worries. It's okay. Just activate Signature, then Run Through. Because again, when you activate Signature, when you activate Signature and you activate Impel Run Through or Tornado, they do 35% more damage. So activate Signature once, Run Through. Signature twice, Impel. And then do Bloody Claws to continue with that bleeding, and then do Savage Slash. Alright, and I'll stop there. So here we go. So get some bleeding going, increase my damage. Get that, let's not use this buff right now. So we're not using Wet Work, we'll just use Signature. Signature. And then get that bleeding, and then Savage Slash. I always forget. And then bleeding, Savage. So you notice the basically what I'm doing is I'm spending it and then I'm increasing it. Spending it and I'm increasing it. Okay, that's that. So I'll do it one more time so you guys can see it, but this time I won't explain what I'm doing, because that way you guys can see it. Cool. Just like so. Okay, now you might be asking, Mondo, so where do I use for Feral Roar? My advice is activate this whenever you're low on spirit. So honestly, if you are low on spirit, just activate it, because it's going to regenerate. And the purpose of regenerate is 50%. So let's just say I use it, right? Signature, Run Through, Signature, Tail, and then notice it's like almost gone. Feral Roar to regenerate, and then do Bloody Claws, regenerate, and then Savage Slash. Bloody Claws, and then Signature, rotation again. Signature, fail, and then Bloody Claws. See that? And that's really my rotation. It's really that simple. Again, Feral Roar. Do it whenever you can. Do it whenever you want to regenerate Fury. Activate it to get that, Terrify, and also regenerate Fury. And then just Signature, Run Through. Signature, Impel. And then the third time will be Signature. That way, and then it will be Run Through. Okay, that's important to know. That's why I have it set up like this. Why do you want to do, Signature, and then for the last charge use Run Through? Is because Impel automatically brutally strikes. I mean, the brutal strike chance is 100%. So it's always going to brutally strike. And so why would you want to use your third charge on Impel if it's going to brutally strike? Because according to the Signature, on that third stack, your next power either Impel, Run Through, Tornado Claw, or Brutally Strike. That's why I have it set up like this. That way I can do Signature, Run Through, Signature, Impel, and then I can do a little bit of Bleeding Claws, and then Signature, and then get that third charge, and then do Run Through. That way, Run Through, it becomes a brutal strike power, so it does even more damage. See what I mean? Because if I would do it here in Impel, I'm not going to take full advantage of that, brutal strike from the third charge. So let me show you how it looks like with everything here, including the third charge. All right, and there we go. So here we go. So buff, signature, boom, if you want to do simple for a roar, you get that going. Signature, boom, and then signature, just like that. Again, very simple rotation. But that's why I said in the Cosmic Trial video with commentary, I'd rather explain it in a build guide. That way you'll see what I mean. You see why I chose these powers, and see why I have it set up the way it is. And yeah, that's it. That's my build guide for Wolverine. I know it was very simple. It seems more complex. I made it seem more complex in the commentary video, but like I said, I really explained it to you guys the way you can fully understand why I have it set up like this, and also to explain to you guys some of the powers. That way, when you start doing your rotation or your builds, you can do it however you want. One thing you can maybe choose is if you do decide to use Savage Instincts, I would say maybe remove Wet Work and then put on their Tornado Claw or something like that. It's up to you. That way, when you signature, you can use Tornado Claw, which is, I think it's this one, right? This one right here. You can use Tornado Claw. That way, it can increase the damage. But again, it's really up to you. But that's why I chose these two powers. Obviously, Impel because of the Brutal Strike, and then Run Through because of the vulnerability, according to this talent. And yeah. So again, this is my build guide for Wolverine. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section below. Any requests for certain characters, leave it in the comment section below. I know some of you have been requesting for characters. I appreciate it because I definitely do sometimes wonder which character I should do. And so next week I have planned so far is Angela and Black Panther, or Angela and Magneto, but you might never know, I might change it. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, let me know, leave it in the comment section below if you find this useful. And if you want to keep up to date with my videos and any current new ones, please do subscribe to my channel. Not only does it help the channel grow, but also means a lot to me as well. And yeah, that's it. This is my build guide for Wolverine. Simple, straightforward. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and on to the next one. Bye-bye.